All right, let's get into some Week 2 picks, man. We start off Thursday Night Football with an AFC West matchup. The Los Angeles Chargers at the Kansas City Chiefs, two teams that won in really good fashion last week. This should be a good matchup here. What's your prediction, Sentinel?
So, like I was saying, I'm going to be doing like my little Colin Cowherd impersonation here without, Joy Taylor to be there to be my backup. I have Kansas City winning this one. It's always Mahomes runs with Kansas City. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Listen, they didn't look like they dropped off at all. I mean, they scored 44 points against the Cardinals, I believe. Juju isn't a scrub. I mean, this is Mahomes we're talking about here. This is Mahomes, Andy Reid, and Eric Bieniemy. You got Juju, who has lots of experience. You have a stud in Sky Moore, who we all wanted to draft this past April, not to mention the fact they have a very good offensive line, and their defense is only getting better and better. So this is a pretty easy one for me. It's the Chiefs, and that's nothing against the Chargers either. I just think it's in Kansas City. It's Patrick Mahomes. There's more experience on that side of the football. So
yeah, I agree. I have to go with Kansas City as well. I mean, a part of me wants to go with Los Angeles for maybe a quote-unquote upset here. But I just can't bet against Kansas City right now. Mahomes had 5 touchdowns, over 300 yards. He's looking like Mahomes, even without Tyreek Hill, which is very impressive for Week 1. So, yeah, give me Kansas City here.
Yeah, no doubt in my mind. I think Kansas City is going to walk out of here with the win. The Chargers, in my opinion, though, defensively are going to put up a hell of a fight with the new additions they got. Although J.C. Jackson, I think he may miss this game as well since he missed last week, although that didn't really affect it. Well, it did because Devontae Adams had a hell of a debut as a Las Vegas Raider, but nonetheless.
But the pass rush ate.
The pass rush did eat, and that's what's going to have to help them defeat the Chiefs. But even with that, I don't think it's going to be enough to contain Patrick Mahomes. If he sees guys wide open, he's going to give them the ball, and that's what's going to help the Chiefs win this game. Give me Kansas City here.
Now we move on to Sunday. We have the New York Jets at the Cleveland Browns. This is just what you would expect it to be. Another very mediocre, somewhat boring matchup like we've seen the past couple years with these teams. I mean, there's nothing really fancy about any of these guys. The Jets have been underwhelming the past couple years, even with the new head coach. Granted, they're still young and they have Flacco starting. He might be starting this one again. The Browns with a nice comeback win last week. So what's your prediction here?
I have the Cleveland Browns, and I have the Browns have gone Kareem hunting again. Listen, I know it's Deshaun Watson's not there for obvious reasons, and this offense has lost some guys, but they've also brought in some guys. So they're going to win football in a very one-dimensional way, the way the Steelers used to win football games. They're going to use great defense, and they're going to use running the football. They're going to run the wheels off of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, and that's how they're going to win football games. And it works. It's lasted the tale of time for so long because it works. It's old school smash mouth football. It's possessing the clock more than your opponent. So I have the Browns winning this one. And again, the Jets look like they're still trying to figure out their identity.
Yeah, absolutely. The Browns, man, they have the best 1-2 punch in the league when it comes to the rushing attack. I mean, that's what's going to keep them floating up until Watson gets back. So, yeah, definitely Cleveland here. This is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets had a rough showing against the Ravens. I think it's going to happen again against another AFC North team in Cleveland. Cleveland's not as powerful as Baltimore, in my opinion, but this is the Jets we're talking about, and Joe Flacco starting. So, I don't think the Jets stand a chance one bit. Give me Cleveland.
Right. Next game, we have the Washington Commanders. I almost said football team. I don't know what a commander is, but the Washington Commanders at the Detroit Lions. What's your prediction?
The Lions, line them up for another close game. The Lions actually shocked me. They almost won that game. It was very close. And I think that finally this team has an identity. Finally this team has some kind of momentum going for them. I'm not going to sit here today and tell you that they're going to the playoffs. I'm not going to sit here today and tell you that they're going to win their division. But I do think they are my dark horse candidate for a wild card spot because the NFC is quite weak right now. So I have the Lions winning this one. Love DeAndre Swift. Really wanted him coming out of the draft. Didn't get him, obviously. We got our stud in Najee Harris. But I like what the Lions are doing. I think that Dan Campbell is like a roided out version of Bill Cowher. I think he motivates his team like Bill Cowher did, and I think he's exactly what this team needs going forward.
Yeah, he's exactly the right guy to change that culture. He's already doing it. They've been the most competitive I've seen them in a while since he's taken over as head coach. They almost came back versus the Eagles last week. Washington had a very good showing last week as well. Wentz had 4 touchdowns, over 300 yards, spread the ball around a number of targets. Dotson in his first game had 2 touchdowns, right? So this one's tough for me. It really is. But one thing I noticed is the Washington defense is still a little suspect. And the Lions don't have a lot of crazy names on offense, but from 1-2 punch from the Browns to another with the Lions, Swift and Williams are a very nice duo. And I think they're going to keep the Lions very competitive down the line. So this one was tough for me. I'm going to go Washington just because I think their passing attack is it's starting to get warmed up with Wentz. Maybe this is another change of scenery for him, if he can stay healthy, of course. So I'm going to go Washington here, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions pull it off.
Now I'm going Detroit right here. I'm going the home team because Detroit is a tough fighting team. They've showcased that last year when they were literally at one of their worst, and they showcased it again, trying to fight back against Philadelphia. And I don't trust Carson Wentz. I don't. He had an impressive showing, don't get me wrong, but he also threw 2 picks, which almost led to Jacksonville coming back and almost getting the win. And I have this feeling that Wentz is going to try too hard like he always does, and Detroit's going to take advantage, especially with the guys that he got in the secondary and Warrior and Okuda to go up against their passing attack. I got Detroit here, and I think if they run the ball effectively, if they can get some turnovers, if Wentz does try to force the pass too much, I think Detroit can exit home with a win.
So I'm the lone wolf here. And you know what? I'm going to change my mind. Give me Detroit. You guys convinced me. Let's go with Detroit here.
Can we also talk about how god-awful terrible their uniforms are?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what it is about current NFL teams. It just feels like they can adopt the black uniform. It's like the old, Bane from Batman. It's like, I adopted the darkness. You nearly mended it. It's like, what makes you think you can just adopt the black color to your uniform? Like, the Washington football... I just did it now. The Washington Commanders look like ASU Sun Devils with their black uniforms on. It's very confusing.
Yeah, I don't like their unis whatsoever. I don't like their name change. I don't even like their logo. I don't like their unis.
There's nothing good about Washington.
No, not right now. Except the fact that they got 1 win last week. But I don't know how long that continues.
Yeah.
With the Lions, showing very nice competitiveness. So
That was just my little soapbox. I'm tired of teams trying to take on this black uniform. Jets did it. Now the Commanders have done it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. It's like they ran out of ideas. Just go back to one of your old school unis, man. Like don't go with anything new anymore. Just go retro. Next game, Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the New Orleans Saints. Now, quick note here. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Saints have swept the Bucs the last 3 years, even when Brady has been at quarterback for the Bucs. So this is in New Orleans. What's your prediction here?
I have New Orleans winning. Tom Brady, get the buck out of here. You took the words right out of my mouth. New Orleans Saints, to my knowledge at least, always sweep the Buccaneers. Number 1. Number 2, Michael Thomas is making his triumphant return. I think a lot of people forgot about who he was. And they're like, oh, yeah, they have him. They also have Jarvis Landry, who is in a scrub, and Chris Olave. They are a team who is going to shock people. Their defense took a little bit of a step back because they lost arguably one of their best secondary pieces, both secondary pieces in Williams and in Gardner-Johnson. But listen, they have a new head coach. He's going to make some mistakes. It's Jameis Winston. It's not prime Drew Brees back there. So do I think it's going to be a clean, easy win game? No. But do I think they're still going to win because of history? Absolutely.
Yeah, I think history's on the New Orleans side here. I can absolutely see Tampa just breaking the streak because, it's Tom Brady. But then again, the past couple years he's been with Tampa, that hasn't happened. And this is in New Orleans, in the Superdome. So, Give me New Orleans here. I think they absolutely continue their win streak versus Tampa Bay.
Yeah, New Orleans is quite impressive. Jameis Winston came up big in the comeback against Atlanta, although Atlanta is known for choking literally every freaking lead they have.
Every single lead. What is wrong with Atlanta? We'll get to them when we get to their game, but my God.
But Winston was impressive. Michael Thomas seems to be truly coming back after missing a full season last year. They still have Chris Olave. Their running game wasn't really there last week, but I feel like, give it a little bit. I think the running game can be effective still.
Let's discuss. Jarvis Landry had over 100 yards.
Yes.
So they have a really good receiving trio to definitely tear down that.
They got a good offense with that offensive line. Going up against Tampa Bay's defense, it's gonna be an electric matchup right here. And I think New Orleans does leave with a win. It's just something about fighting New Orleans. In New Orleans, Tampa Bay just can't seem to get a job done, even with Tom Brady.
Right.
I don't know where it is, but give me New Orleans here.
Yeah. Next game, the Carolina Panthers that lost last week versus the Browns. So Baker didn't really get his revenge there. They are heading to New York to face the Giants, who very gutsy from the new head coach to go for 2 and get that win, that upset from the Titans, which fucked up my parlay, but good for the Giants, I guess. What's your prediction?
I have the Giants winning here. The Giants are taking baby steps. Listen, I've never been a fan of Daniel Jones, but he's doing just enough to get them to win. In fact, I have to give kudos to the offensive game plan in which they're using his legs more. They're kind of using him as like a poor man's Josh Allen in the sense that, I'm not trying to compare the two,
No.
in the sense that he has running packages just for him, like little 5-yard, 6-yard dashes out of bounds. I love that. In fact, there was a play so well scripted that it confused the cameraman. I don't know if you guys caught that. The cameraman was looking at this line of scrimmage. Daniel Jones had the ball, ran it for a first down, I believe. So I like that. I think that they got a really good wide receiver in Rondale Robinson. Again, somebody I was looking at. Their defense is getting better. I think change of scenery in the head coach is going to only do them dividends in the long run. And I don't know. I kind of like what the Giants are working with. Again, don't think they're going to be like this amazing team, but Carolina looks lost. Ever since they lost Cam Newton, homeboys have looked absolutely lost. Baker Mayfield literally almost lost that game for him. He was getting booed at one point in the game. So I'm not convinced. I also think Christian McCaffrey's health is a concern for the foreseeable future. Not that anything happened to him, but I don't know. I just don't buy what they're selling in Carolina right now.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, I have a couple thoughts about both these teams. I love the comparison with the Giants' game plan, very similar to Josh Allen and the Bills. It makes sense because their head coach was the Giants or was the Bills' OC last year. Makes complete sense, and it's working for him. It's opening the offense. In fact, Barkley had a comeback game last week, and he's looking to do the same thing this week versus the Panthers, in which they got torn by the Browns' rushing attack. So I can absolutely see the Giants winning this. This could potentially be a lock of the week, I suppose. I don't like Carolina whatsoever. They are a mess. Their quarterback situation has been a mess for a long time. Matt Rule, you can definitely bank on it that he will be the first head coach fired at some point this year. There's no way he continues to be their head coach. There's no way.
No.
In fact, I don't know when they win their first game. I don't. I had them winning last week versus the Browns, but that's only because I didn't think the Browns were going to start off that high. However, wait, go ahead.
I definitely think that there's an identity crisis right now, and I think the Steelers are going through something similar right now. It happens to teams who have been good for a long time. You have an established identity, the times have changed, and now you're trying to figure out, well, do we want to run with the new fad of NFL, scripting, or do we want to do things the way we've always done it? And I think ever since they lost Cam Newton and that identity of just like smash mouth football and little dink and dunk plays with Cam, they really haven't been able to find themselves, which is a shame that a guy like Christian McCaffrey is wasting his best years on the Panthers. I mean, talk about a guy who I feel so he hopefully one day has a resurgence like a Matt Stafford or like a Ryan Tannehill on another team. I doubt it. I would love to see him, in another team's uniform, but my God, that poor guy.
Yeah, he totally deserves better. Definitely. Give me the Giants here. I like what they're doing so far with the new head coach. It seems like the culture's changing. The offense game plan you said is really opening the team a lot. And of course the all the new changes they made in the front office. It seems like New York, like you said, baby steps.
Yep.
And they're doing good so far. And I can't tell you the last time they started 2-0, but I think they're going to do it. So give me New York here.
Yeah, I think they do it as well. I think they start 2-0. They get the win here at home against Carolina. New York, they're moving forward with their future. Carolina's going backward. I do not trust I do not trust Carolina. I don't know what they're doing at this point. They're just throwing stuff at the wall, hoping it sticks.
Pretty much
at this point. They're going from quarterback to whatever at this point. Carolina literally has no idea what they are doing. Matt Rule is bound to be fired by midseason, probably even beforehand. Who freaking knows?
Right.
Give me New York here. I just don't trust Carolina. I like what New York's doing, and I like their future. I really do.
In fact, I think this is the game that's going to cover the spread here. I think New York's going to win 24-17.
Okay.
So, yeah, give me New York there. Next game. Let's talk about it, man. We got the New England Patriots heading to Pittsburgh, heading to Heinz Field to face the Pittsburgh Steelers. Sentinel, how are you feeling after week 1?
I'm going to need new heart medication by the end of this season, guys. I can't take this. My girlfriend and I were watching the game, and she literally was underneath the covers, like, stressed for me. Oh, my God, I was pacing like my life was on the line. Talk about a weird week 1 opener. When the minute we went into overtime, I was like, oh, my God, it's the Browns and Steelers week 1 all over again. TJ Watt's rookie year. Man, I mean, talk about there was just something about the defense that was different. You know, they're rocking that black Air Force One energy. I mean, there was just something. They took it personally. Minka took it personally. If you're a big nerd and video game person like myself, and you've played Super Mario Smash Brothers, you know that there's Link and there's Dark Link. We got Minka, now we got Dark Minka. I mean, talk about somebody you don't want to piss off. I would not want to piss off Minka, Cam Hayward, or TJ Watt. And they most certainly pissed off Minka. I mean, dude was, somebody possessed that man and he became a different, entity. Like if you've seen Rocky 3 or Rocky 4, you don't want to get Rocky mad because then that's when he fights his hardest. You don't want to get Minka mad because that's when he's going to do his best. I mean, kudos to the Bengals. They almost, because of our offense, came back and won, which is, I mean, everything was going wrong in their favor. Like everything bad was happening to them. But I mean, talk about a defense that just like, oh my God, for me, it was that hit TJ Watt had. He came off the line, immediately smacked Joe Mixon. I mean, you could feel it in your bones. He got rocked to the core.
And then the next play, he got the interception.
I know. I mean, I really hope, we'll talk about TJ Watt here for a second. I really hope that he's healthy, just outside of a football perspective. I don't want him to be plagued with injuries for many reasons like his brother has been. But my God, TJ Watt, could he have looked any better? I mean, surely there's a ceiling on this guy or like I don't know how to keep this guy bottled up. He's gonna find a way to ruin your game plan. And he most certainly did. And the secondary was elite. I think there were way too many ticky-tacky calls on our secondary. I think Cam Sutton was a little grabby here and there, but I think he got used and abused a little bit by Hockley, who can go screw off. Yeah, pressure. Alex Highsmith, hello, 3 sacks already. Like, good Lord, we're going to need him to step up in the wake of TJ being out for either the season or for at least a month. So that all being said, of course I got Pittsburgh winning. Come on now, I'm a Yinzer. We're facing a less competent team. Now, coaching-wise, you don't have a better coach than Bill Belichick. He's been so good at it for so long. However, their offense has looked terrible. This offense might not even have Mac Jones. This offense might be with, honestly, knowing Pittsburgh history, they're probably going to beat us if they go in with Brian Hoyer or whoever their secondary, because we always struggle with backup quarterbacks. But Mac Jones hasn't looked good. Their running game is really the only leg they have to stand on. Their defense is okay, but they've lost a lot of significant pieces. And it's a home opener in Pittsburgh, which we historically always do well in. So I think it's going to be another nail biter thanks to our boo-boo offense who needs to wake the hell up. But yeah, my God, that defense, good Lord have mercy. It was like watching something I have not seen in a long time.
Yeah, it was delightful to watch, at least for the first half. The second half and come overtime, it was definitely stressful. We still haven't recovered. I don't think any of us, any of Steelers Nation has recovered, to be real with you.
And I think it's going to be the same case going up against the Patriots.
It's going to be a little bit more often because with TJ out at least 4 to 6 weeks, maybe after the bye. In fact, there's a little news here. As we're recording the predictions here, Tom Pelissero announces that TJ Watt is likely headed to injured reserve, but that does not mean his season's over. Because if you put on injured reserve throughout the season, you are very likely to come back after 4 weeks. Now, I don't know if he'll be back after 4 weeks. It could be 5 weeks. It could be 6 weeks. Again, it could be after the bye. We're still waiting for confirmation from doctors for second and third options about his torn pec, if he will need surgery or not. It's sounding like he won't, which is great. And thus, he'll be out max 6-7 weeks.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I do like what the Steelers did at edge right after preseason. Trading for Malik Reed, bringing back Jameer Jones. Alex Highsmith had a breakout performance last week. We're going to have to lean on him, which we trust completely. He's in his third year now. He's starting to break out, very similar to what Dupree did. So I still trust this defense, especially since we still have a lot of core guys. As long as they stay healthy, that's the key here.
Yeah.
And against a Patriots offense that is not threatening whatsoever, or a Patriots team altogether that is not threatening anymore. No. They have no number one receiver. Their best aspect of their team, which hasn't been said, I don't think, ever in their franchise, is their rushing attack.
Yeah.
So, which I think we trust our rushing defense.
And before, a lot of these analysts, the big thing they want to talk about this week is just losing TJ Watt. Not how hard we played, not the fact that we made Macaulay Culkin Jr., Joe Burrow look like a fool, not the fact that we pretty much shut down their whole team. I mean, I've posted this on pretty much every website I can find. If any other offense were on that field against the Bengals, it would have been a blowout. I mean, It would have been bad. They're lucky that our defense was so tired because our offense is so lackluster. I mean, it could have been really atrocious. So I think that although TJ Watt isn't going to be there, I mean, this defense is it's definitely got the Brian Flores, the Terrell Austin, and now Mike Tomlin, like three-headed like dog going at this defensive game planning, and it shows because even Devin Bush looked pretty damn legit on Sunday outside of a play here and there. So you know what? If we play even a smidgen how we did against the Bengals, who are far more talented and far more competent, I have every little bit of faith that they will come out victorious.
Absolutely, and that's why I'm taking Pittsburgh here as well. The only thing that worries me in this matchup is the Mike Tomlin, Bill Belichick history. More times than not, Belichick has outcoached Tomlin. But this is at home. This is a less talented team than previous years for New England. And it seems like Belichick's time as a head coach or as an NFL coach in general, it seems like it's running out a little bit. It seems like the fire's fizzing down. So give me Pittsburgh here in the home opener.
Yeah, I'm going Pittsburgh to get the win here. New England, like you said, like we've all stated, really, they're not as strong, they're not as dominant, they're not as threatening. They've lost a lot of guys, especially on the defense. I would hope that the offense would take advantage of some of the key guys that they did lose, but I anticipate this matchup being a lot more closer than what I think it should be, but I think Pittsburgh still escapes with a victory.
And also, big thing that I just thought about just now, history has shown that Bill Belichick's assistants and different positional coaches always play well against him. And we have a leg up in the fact that we have Brian Flores, who used to play and work for Bill Belichick, is now going to give us the details and the behind-the-scenes knowledge we need to know to take advantage of them.
Very, very good point. Flores did it in Miami. I remember Matt Patricia beat him on Sunday night when he was the Lions head coach once. You're absolutely right. That's a great point you made. So, yeah, give us Pittsburgh here. Next game, we got another rivalry matchup. I believe this is the AFC South. We have the Colts at the Jaguars. What's your prediction?
I have Indy right here. Indy Taylor 500. Listen, it's only a matter of time before this guy starts cooking. I think that there were a few misfires and hiccups. It's the most Indianapolis Colts thing ever to do, to go into the game against a team that's supposed to not even be in contention and then tie. Like, what? They did this against the Jaguars last year, even with Jonathan Taylor, and all of us were stunned. I mean, it's because of their incompetence and many other little things that happened that the Steelers even got into the playoffs last year. So I think Indy always does this. They always have that what the hell game. But again, at some point, Michael Pittman Jr. and Jonathan Taylor and Matt Ryan are all going to start clicking on all cylinders, and it's going to work out for them. So I have the Colts here.
Okay. See, part of me wants to take the Colts as well because I think with Matt Ryan at quarterback now, he threw for over 300 yards last week. Granted, it was in overtime, so he had extra time to do it. But still, for a quarterback of his age and a new scenery, his first game in Indy, I mean, it's pretty impressive. So they're under better maintenance under Matt Ryan, for sure, compared to last year, compared to the past couple years, ever since Luck retired. However, I'm still going to go with history on the side here because Jacksonville has not lost to the Colts in Jacksonville since 2015. And a part of me wants to take Jacksonville. They didn't look too terrible versus the Commanders last week. And I think the rushing attack can get into the Colts' head if what's his name? Shaquille Leonard now. It's not Darius, it's Shaquille, especially if he's not playing again. I know he didn't play last week. I don't know if he'll play this week. If not, then I can see the Jags definitely using their rushing attack heavy. I'm going to go upset of the week here. Give me Jacksonville.
You're going upset. I'm going lock.
Lock?
This is my lock of the week.
For who?
Jacksonville.
What?
Jacksonville, like you said.
Upset and lock?
I got it as a lock because, like you stated, Jacksonville has not lost to Indianapolis and Jacksonville since 2015.
You think that's a lock?
Yes.
I
think that's a bona fide lock in my opinion.
See, the reason why I say it's an upset because I think the Colts are favored to win here.
I understand that, and the Colts are a much more superior team on paper than Jacksonville is, but it's just like, when Tampa Bay goes to New Orleans, they can't beat them when they're on the road against a division rival. And I think it's going to be the same case again with Jacksonville beating the Colts once again.
That's insane. So I have the upset and you have the lock.
I got Jacksonville lock of the week.
Alrighty.
Also, we got some breaking news here. It says, two breaking news things here. It says, Steelers running back Najee Harris says, I will be playing this weekend versus the Patriots. We'll see how likely that ends up happening. Also, Tom Pelissero reports that the Steelers are working out former Washington Commanders outside linebacker Ryan Anderson today for depth.
Ryan Anderson, former Alabama player, former Commanders player.
So we shall see. I mean, Ryan Anderson potentially being worked out may mean that maybe they know something that we don't. Maybe TJ Watt is going to IR. Maybe it isn't a full tear. Maybe it's just a strain, a really bad third-degree strain, which in that case, homeboy could be back same time we get Calvin Austin back in 5 weeks, which wouldn't be terrible. Yeah. So we'll see. And Najee's going to be playing, so rock to the Naj.
That is really, really interesting news there. Good for Naj. Yeah, with TJ, I mean, he's going to IR. He'll be if it's not a tear or if it's not required to have surgery, he'll be back maybe before or after the bye, one of the two. And obviously, they're going to put him on IR so they can make room for someone like a Ryan Anderson for depth purposes.
Right.
Interesting. Okay, but I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that Najee's pretty good to go. I know he had an injury in training camp and into the preseason, and he might have, hurt that a little more this past Sunday versus the Bengals, which definitely it was a worry on all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad to hear that he's doing good and he's ready to go. We'll see what his participation is in practice all week, so that'll really be very telling. But about Ryan Anderson, that's interesting. So we'll see what the doctors say about TJ, but that's good. That's good stuff there. Next game. Let's get into the next game, man. We have the Miami Dolphins at the Baltimore Ravens. This is tricky, man. I don't know who to pick. So what's your prediction?
This is my hot pick of the week. Miami waddles by with a win. Listen, my brother's a huge Dolphins fan, and he has a lot of inside sources and things like that. And I really like what the Dolphins are doing. I think Tua finally looks like, me being a Bama fan, Roll Tide. He finally looks like he used to back in Bama. He looks comfortable. He has every weapon under the sun, not to mention his new head coach is an offensive guru, a Sean McVay type creator of plays and creator of scripts. So I think Baltimore, and this is coming from someone who's dating a Baltimore fan, so pray for me.
Oh God.
Yeah, pray for me. I'm just kidding. But the Dolphins are going to do well here, I think, because the Ravens struggled against the Jets, y'all. The Ravens struggled against the Jets this past week. No one wants to talk about that, but they did. It wasn't really until the third quarter that we saw some separation. I mean, most of the game, the Ravens were putting up points, which is good. The Ravens, the score is misleading. If you would have watched the game like we were off and on with the Steelers game, you would have saw that the Ravens did not look good. It was a lot of sloppy football.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really watch most of the highlights. I was really depending on the score, but I'll take your word for it. And it doesn't really surprise me because Baltimore, against undermining competition, they kind of play a little bit. I mean, I think it was a couple years ago, maybe it was last year. It was one of the two where it was Thursday Night Football. This very game happened. It was Miami versus Baltimore, and Miami pulled off the upset, and it started off their nice little end run of the season. I forget if it was a couple years ago or last year. It was one of the two. I know it happened though. This one, it's difficult for me to choose because Miami looked very good last week. Their offense is very nice. I really like what Mike McDaniels is doing thus far. I think he's the head coach for the future for them. He's under the Shanahan tree, so that's good enough for him. That's a good resume. With Baltimore though, they always have a good start to the season in terms of record. So it's hard for me to bet against Baltimore, especially since guys like Duvernay stepped up. Bateman had a long touchdown, and of course they still have Andrews. J.K. might be playing in this one. If not, they're going to lean on their backups again.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still going to go Baltimore, especially since it's at home. Only because I'm still a little uncertain a little bit about Tua and against a good defense in Baltimore, which they could be getting Peters back in this one. We all know what Humphrey can do. Their secondary's nice and stacked. So, yeah, still give me Baltimore, but I think Miami definitely keeps it close.
See, this one was really tough for me to choose because both teams on paper are full of talent. They got a lot of potential. They really do, especially Miami, don't get me wrong. But I just see Baltimore here, especially here at home, getting the victory. I can see Miami keeping it extremely competitive. I'm right here with Dan. Tua's a little, he's still a little unknown at the moment, even with the targets he's got. Baltimore, though, their defense, they did lose Kyle Fuller due to a torn ACL, but they still have guys that can fill in, that can take over that role. And with Tua's uncertainty, it's going to be difficult because with the thing with Baltimore's defense, what I'm trying to get at is they can create turnovers. They can get turnovers.
Right.
And that's something that has hurt Tua a lot, and that's something that he can't afford to do right now, especially with the weapons he's got and basically his starting or his job on the line basically for this season with the Miami Dolphins.
It's his make or break. He is the make or break for the Dolphins completely. So.
Yeah, and Tua's, right now, he's nowhere like Joe Flacco. Tua's much better right now than Joe Flacco, but Flacco made a couple mistakes. He didn't really look too keen against Baltimore's defense. Marcus Williams made a good debut as a Raven, and I feel like that's something that Tua's going to have to be extremely careful with. He's going to have to watch out.
But they definitely have the speed and the targets to flex out that secondary of Baltimore. So,
they definitely do.
This is why it's tough for me to select, but I took the home team because...
And that's what I'm going to do right here. When I can't really decide, I'm going to go with Steel Sermon's route. Huge shout out to him. Just go with the home team, so I'm going to go with Baltimore here.
Okay. Next game, we have the Atlanta Chokers at the Los Angeles Rams. What is wrong with Atlanta? Why can't they maintain a lead to save their lives?
I'm even more worried about the Rams here. Matthew Stafford is not looking 100% healthy. I think I even heard, NFL mic'd up one part where he was like, I can't throw, my arm is messed up. I'm more worried about the Rams. I forgot Allen Robinson was on the team. Thank God they have Cooper Kupp. That really their best offensive weapons are Cooper Kupp and Sean McVay. Those are their two best offensive players, those two guys. The defense looked lost and confused. I was I was shocked, to be honest with you, what happened. I mean, granted, it was against the Bills, so there's a lot to be said there. But honestly, that all being said, I still think the Rams will crank one out here. I think that the team is going to gel back together. I think Ramsey is still kind of getting back from being injured. I think they're going to game plan around a more conservative Matt Stafford because of his arm. And I just like the talent they have overall on their team.
Yeah, I just don't see how Atlanta pulls this one out. So, yeah, give me LA here. This is a no-brainer. I agree with Stafford. It seems like his injury that was reported in preseason is really starting to nag him early on, and I don't know how bad it is, but it didn't look good last week. And their targets alone didn't really spark much outside of the obvious in Cup. Maybe they can get a rushing attack here against the Falcons, but I don't know, man. I still think that the Rams are going to pull this one out for sure. I just don't know about the Falcons. I know Mariota and Patterson is they look good last week, especially Patterson, which prayers to Rob. He sat him for Cam Akers last week in fantasy.
Why'd you bring that up?
I just had to. Had to throw a little shot in there. You know? I'm just saying. You played Cam Akers over Cordell Patterson.
Yeah, and I'm pissed at Sean McVay because he didn't play him. He didn't use him.
Thank you for that W.
Yeah, he was facing Sentinel in the fantasy.
Hey, no problem, buddy. No problem.
Oh, now here.
Well, I know what I'm doing this week.
Well, here's the thing, though. now you got these two teams facing each other, and Akers and Patterson. Who you starting? Akers. Hey, I think Akers is gonna have a bounce back week.
Yeah, play Akers. Don't play Patterson.
Yeah, okay, sure. Listen, the Rams are going to have a bounce-back week. I don't know about Akers, but the Rams are going to have a bounce-back week. After a poor start to the season, after getting destroyed by Buffalo in their stadium, you know, they're definitely going to want to get a big bounce-back win in their stadium against Atlanta, a team that just
can't find their footing yet.
No, not at all.
No.
Not at all. Give me the Rams here easily.
Next game, we have another rivalry matchup. This is the NFC West. We have the Seattle Seahawks. Geno Smith, Seattle Seahawks, at the San Francisco 49ers. Who would have thought that come week 2, Seattle would have a win over San Francisco? I definitely didn't. What's your prediction here?
And the Seahawks, Sir Lance, not a lot. He looks lost. It's such a shame. I mean, granted, he is uber talented, but if he's not careful, they're going to put, mark my words, if he does not get his shit together in the next few weeks, they will put Garoppolo in there. I'm just telling you right now, it may sound contrary to his confidence, but they will put him in. Dude looks lost. The team cannot just solely rely on Deebo Samuel. And I'll tell you what. That Broncos team is very talented. When you come out and you make the Broncos look bad on a goal line situation like that, I mean, that's impressive. I saw the highlights for that Seahawks game, and I saw myself like, okay, I see you, Seattle. Okay, give them a little 1-2, smack them around a little bit. And we haven't even seen what Kenneth Walker can do yet. Yeah. I mean, this is all off of just Rashaad Penny. So I got the Seahawks here.
Really?
Riding the hot hand, baby.
All righty. I'm going to go San Francisco. I just don't know how much longer this Geno Smith ride can run with Seattle. I do agree with Trey Lance. He he did not have a good start. He does look a little lost. And I think all three of us really liked Lance coming out of North Dakota State in his draft class. But it just seems like, I don't know. I'm not saying he's not ready, and maybe some of his performance had to do with the fact that it was serious weather last week in, I think it was Chicago. Even Justin Fields didn't have a great game. Also, George Kittle wasn't playing that matchup. So, I don't know. Maybe he gets him back. Maybe it's nicer weather in San Francisco. I'm not trying to make too many excuses for Lance, but it was his first start of the season, and a season which they're anticipating him starting the whole year, him being the long-term future and everything, ideally. So, maybe Lance gets it together this time around against Seattle. I just still don't know about Seattle. Honestly, I think the Broncos absolutely should have closed that Seattle game out on Monday night. They had many chances. The defense gave them good favors. They had many goal-to-go drives, and they only got 3 points out of 4 red zone trips. Yep. That is terrible. They should have been closed it out. They are too talented to only have 3 points on 4 red zone drives. I don't think that happens with Kyle Shanahan and that offense. I give me San Francisco at home.
Yeah, now it's going to be difficult for San Francisco here, though, even in their place, because Kittle's still unknown. He may not play this game again. And Elijah Mitchell, I heard that he's going to be out 2 months.
Right.
I think it's a sprained MCL or it's something sprained. I can't remember exactly what it is, but
Right.
I mean,
who's their rusher? Who's their running back now? Is Jeff Wilson still with the team?
It's not Trey Sermon.
Well, obviously he got cut.
I don't know.
It would have to be Debo.
Debo.
It would have to be Debo.
It has to be. I don't know.
Debo.
I don't know who else. Jeff Wilson right now with Mitchell out, but they'll give it to Debo. They'll give it to Debo. He's more than capable of taking over that role and catching the ball out of the backfield. So, although the injuries that San Francisco has sustained, I think they can still come out with a win. Seattle looked real impressive against Denver and beating Russell Wilson with him coming back to Seattle for Monday Night Football. And I may be underestimating them, but I don't really see them being consistent this week against a division rival here. I could be completely wrong on that. I could be underestimating them and Geno Smith and some of their talent on defense, but I just don't see them being consistent. I think with the injuries that the 49ers have sustained, I think they still get out with a win.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. And me quietly trying to pick up Jeff Wilson in fantasy, so please excuse me. While we get into the next game, let's go with Cincinnati at Dallas. Dak is out from 6 to 8 weeks. Hey,
oh, good Lord.
Dallas, you need a quarterback? I mean, we have a number 3 that's sitting for some reason, so you need a quarterback?
Man, I feel so bad for that. That team can't catch a break.
They cannot.
That team cannot catch a break. I feel so bad. But that being said, I think Cincinnati got a little smack in the face action going on here. Again, I give the team full credit for coming back and almost winning the damn thing. And if it honestly weren't for the fact that they couldn't kick to save their lives, I didn't even know the long snapper was out, to be honest, until it happened. If it weren't for that, we could have been looking at a much different game here. But that being said, they did get a little bit of humble pie. I think Jamar Chase learned his place a little bit more. I think Macaulay Culkin Jr. learned his place a little bit more. I think Joe Mixon learned more. I think that whole team just got a nice piece of humble pie. So I hope they suck on that L until we see them again. Enjoy that L, baby. It's a personal gift from us to you. And yeah, it's an easy win here. The Bengals they're not gonna lose 2 weeks in a row. No. They're not bad. I think they just were a little overhyped coming out of that Super Bowl appearance, and they were rusty because none of them played during the preseason. So.
Yeah, and same thing with the Los Angeles Rams. It was a Super Bowl hangover, I suppose. But yeah, I don't see them losing 2 straight, especially to what I'm going to imagine as of now is going to be a Cooper Rush-led Dallas team.
Yeah.
So yeah, give me Cincinnati here in my lock of the week.
Yeah, I don't anticipate Dallas really putting much of an effort, not even with them trying to run the ball with Zeke and Tony Pollard. I mean, they tried last week.
Well, they're going to have to run heavy on that because outside of CeeDee, who do they have?
But even then, last week when they tried against Tampa Bay, that didn't work.
Well, clearly.
So nothing's going to work for Dallas.
They're going to have a long season, let me tell you.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Their defense is going to have to carry them, but there's only so much Micah Parsons can do because Trevon Diggs is incredibly overrated, and outside of those two, I don't really know much because most of the guys they have interiorly and on the defensive line are not as impactful as a Micah.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Who is probably on his way to Defensive Player of the Year. Just saying.
Could be. Cincinnati, they sustained a loss, obviously, to the Steelers. They're definitely going to want a big bounce-back win. I'm sure they have a lot of frustration to let loose, and unfortunately, Dallas is going to be that team, so give me Cincinnati.
Yeah. Next game, we have the Houston Texans that tied with the Colts, and for most of the game, actually led the game. We have the Houston Texans at the Denver Broncos, and Denver's home opener. Sentinel, I don't know if you watched Monday Night Football last night, but that ending sequence, that time management from Denver was the most head-scratching stuff I've ever seen from a football team. From Nathaniel Hackett. It was, I don't understand it.
It was infuriating. Yeah, no, I have the Broncos winning here. Still, I just think that team is far too talented, and they'll get their stuff together. They'll get it sorted out here. But I like the Broncos here. Again, you said home opener. That's a huge one. Broncos country, let's ride. So I think the Broncos take the W here.
Yeah, give me the Broncos. Definitely. Broncos country. Let's ride.
I'm going to be gutsy here.
Gutsy, don't say it.
I'm going to be gutsy here. I'm going Houston as my upset of the week. Houston, now granted, it was against a division rival in Indianapolis, and I think that game was in Houston. They managed to keep up with Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, a new quarterback in Indianapolis, and Matt Ryan. Their offense isn't as, I would say, electric as Denver, since, Denver has better receivers. They have a better quarterback. Nowhere near the run back caliber of Jonathan Taylor, at least not yet.
Well, they have a good 1-2 punch there. But I will say, in terms of defense, the Broncos' defense was a little underwhelming.
Yes.
At least from a secondary standpoint, they have a very good secondary in my book. The front seven's a little questionable. They don't really have many linebackers to help with the rushing attack. So we could see Damian Pierce start to get the train running here.
Yeah,
so,
and Davis Mills, he had a pretty decent showing against Indianapolis, who I think has a pretty decent defense, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And he had a pretty decent showing. He can connect with Brandon Cooks. I think they found a decent tight end right now with O.J. Howard for a end zone target. Damian Pierce, like you said, he could be a stud running back for them this season and for the franchise.
You're really taking the Texans, though.
I don't listen. I don't trust. Now it's just week one. But I don't trust Nathaniel Hackett and his game management and his decision making. And
it seems like the slumber from Green Bay has transitioned to Denver, at least so far. I do agree with Sentinel that they'll get it figured out. They have too much talent to be this incompetent.
And I definitely agree. I think they will figure it out. I just don't think it's going to take them 1 week for them to figure it out. And I can absolutely see a team like Houston pulling off the upset and having Denver try to find their identity, trying to have Hackett figure out, how to get the offense in rhythm and everything like that. I'm going Houston. I'm taking a gamble.
All right.
I'm being gutsy. I'm taking Houston to get the victory.
All right. There you go.
Upset of the week.
I like it. I like the little mix-up here. Next thing, we have the Arizona Cardinals that got blown out by the Kansas City Chiefs at the Las Vegas Raiders that tried to keep in contention with the Chargers but just couldn't pull it off, although Adams had a great game. What's your prediction here?
Las Vegas Raiders. Raiding up the scoreboard here.
Yeah.
Raiders are going to win this one. Again, another team that has no identity, and they have a 5-year-old playing quarterback. So who has to go play Fortnite and have that written into his contract? So I'm definitely not on the Arizona bandwagon. Never was. Thought there was a lot of hype coming out of them for no reason. And without DeAndre Hopkins, they're lost.
Very lost. I do not trust Arizona one bit. I don't believe in Kyler Murray. I never did coming out of the draft. I think they did Rosen dirty. I'm not saying Rosen would have done anything better. I don't think he would have. But I didn't like the Murray hype coming out of the draft. I still don't like the Murray hype a few years after coming after the draft. So, that contract he got was so undeserving.
Yep.
He didn't do anything to earn $45+ million. He only led them to one playoff berth one time, and they got blown out as they did as well last week. And I'm not saying it's going to happen again this week, but I'm going the Raiders as well.
Yeah,
I don't trust Arizona. I don't trust their head coach. I don't trust the team. They have great talent. The receiving core when Hopkins is back is stacked. I just don't trust them one bit.
Yeah, I don't trust Kyler Murray one bit either. His decision-making is inconsistent. His turnovers cost them heavy. If he was worth the money that he was given, he would have kept that game against the Chiefs last week much more closer and much more competitive.
Right.
Arizona got destroyed by Kansas City, and they don't have Tyreek Hill anymore.
And they don't have much of a defensive line either since they lost Chandler Jones as well.
Yes. Arizona is not as fiery as they were last year. They're not as good. They're not as competitive, in my honest opinion.
No.
I don't trust Arizona. I don't trust Cliff Kingsbury. The Raiders, they suffered a tough loss against the Chargers. They're definitely going to want to try to get a big win in Las Vegas. I think that's what they do. I think they get the win. I think Adams has another great game. I think Derek Carr has a bounce-back game after throwing, I think, 3 interceptions last week against the Chargers. Give me the Raiders here.
All righty. Sunday Night Football, we have the longest rivalry in NFL history here. We have the Chicago Bears at the Green Bay Packers. Can the Packers rebound after losing to the Vikings in another NFC North matchup? What's your prediction, man?
Talk about a team that got embarrassed last week. I remember watching that game, and for the longest time, it was like 17-0. I was like, oof, this is hard to watch.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell that Adams was a huge part of that team. And as much as him and Aaron Rodgers didn't get along, apparently, through all their, little interviews that they've had since the team has moved on from Adams, yikes. Yeah, I have the Packers winning this one, but if they lose this second week in a row, they can pack it up. I mean, they're in a very competitive division now, and I never thought I'd ever say that, but the Bears are pressed for wins because they're tired of being garbage. The Lions are only getting better, and they're getting coached better, and the Vikings are just a talented squad.
Yeah. I actually think the Vikings take that division whatsoever. And I like what you did there with they might as well pack it up because, I mean, it seems like Green Bay, I agree. As long as Aaron Rodgers was in Green Bay, I didn't think that they would be second, third, even fourth fiddle here. But they're not looking good. They clearly have no receivers. But
now listen, it could take them time. They
Right.
do have 2 rookie receivers in Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, 2 guys that do have a boatload of potential.
obviously a new offensive coordinator that coming into the season. So maybe it'll take a little bit more time. But with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, you have a low expectation.
Yes,
but
you do.
At the same time, he does own Chicago. So give me Green Bay here on Sunday night.
Yeah, I think somehow, some way, Green Bay does escape with a victory. I don't know how their receivers are going to do. They literally have nobody. Sammy Watkins is washed. Randall Cobb is not what he used to be back when he was originally with Green Bay. The rookie receivers, it's going to take them time. I know they got Robert Tonyan back from last year after he tore his ACL, but he hasn't really been a receiving threat. He's more of a touchdown threat. Their running game, they had to try to run the ball effectively here. I think that's what they do. Chicago got a big win last week against San Francisco and Chicago. It's going to be I think it's going to be close. I really think it's going to be close. I think Fields does have a pretty competitive game here against Green Bay's defense, which isn't as strong as it was last year, but I think Green Bay does escape with a victory.
Yeah, agreed. Now we move on to Monday Night Football. We have a doubleheader. For some reason, both of these games are happening at the same time. One starts a little later than the other, but doubleheader Monday Night Football, so I can't really complain. When one game ends, we can shift on to the next. We start off with the Tennessee Titans at the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are looking real good. Me, personally, I'm on the hype train. I had them as my Super Bowl favorites. I still have them as my Super Bowl favorites. I know it's still early, but I really think this is the year Buffalo does it. I'm on the hype train. How are you feeling?
I have the Buffalo winning this one. Enjoy the Josh Allen show. Dude is unreal, and I have a lot of buddies who are really good Buffalo Bills fans, and I'll tell you what, I do think that everybody needs to pump the brakes. They are a good team, but in the same way that, they also have a troubled offensive line. It's not the greatest. They have one really elite receiver and then kind of everybody else, and their defense is really, really good. So they're going to win one way and one way only, and that's through Josh Allen. If Josh Allen isn't the guy, or if he gets injured or something, it's going to be very hard for that team to make any kind of a splash. But it just goes to show you how good of a player he is, that literally with no run game, really, no real good receivers outside of Diggs, no really good offensive line, dude is making splash play after splash play. So good for them.
Josh Allen is truly Josh Al-him. He is him. He is. I mean, Josh Allen's come a long way. Him and Diggs are just incredible. I love what Gabe Davis is doing as well as the number 2, stepping up in his second or third year now. So good on him. And just give me Buffalo here. I don't know about Tennessee no more. Derrick Henry's still the guy. He's going to be that anchor. He's all they have at this point. They have no receivers, at least not yet. Until Berg starts barking it up, I suppose. There's just they don't have no receivers in Tannehill. There's only so long you can depend on him. So either you get Derrick Henry going, or you can wrap it up for Tennessee. But give me Buffalo here.
Yeah, Tennessee, I don't trust them like I kind of did last year. Like last year compared to this year, Tennessee isn't as good.
Right. I mean, because Vrabel was the coach of the year last year and went, 13-3 with all the injuries, which is impressive. But I don't know. It's just something about them just a little off this time around.
And it might be because of the lack of receiving threat on their team. Maybe Tannehill is definitely declining. He's not as much of a stud as he was.
They got to hope the Liberty kid, Malik Willis, starts cooking something up in the next couple of years. Otherwise, they could be looking at another quarterback, trajectory, I suppose.
Yeah, situation. Derrick Henry, he's still a good back. He really is. But Buffalo, man. Buffalo's just on fire. I think they will continue to be on fire. Sean McDermott's really turned that whole culture around. Josh Allen's freaking fantastic. He's more than likely the main candidate for MVP this season. Their defense is real good. It's real reliable. Give me Buffalo here.
Right. And to close out week 2, guys, we have Minnesota at Philly. 2 teams that got really good wins last week. Minnesota a little more impressive than Philly. What's your prediction here?
Oh, this is Minnesota, purple people eaters. I mean, don't get me wrong. I hate to admit it because they're one of my least favorite teams of all time. But the Eagles look good. I think that they made a huge splash in getting A.J. Brown. Mm-hmm. Finally, Jalen Hurts has no excuses. I mean, he has Devonta Smith. He has Jalen Hurts. He has A.J. Brown. He's got and even Miles Sanders, made of glass, looked good. And that defense is going to get nasty. I mean, they brought in Godzilla and they stole Nakobe Dean. I mean, that team is no team to scoff at, but Vikings again riding the hot hand, riding that Vikings win.
Agreed. Last week, Philly was the most balanced offense in terms of success I've seen in a long time from that team. So good on them. Against Minnesota, though, like you said, the hot hand, they're looking real good. It seems like they're on their way to win that division, at least from what they're looking at right now. Especially with the new head coach in. So, yeah, give me Minnesota here.
Yeah. See, this one was a tough matchup for me to choose right here as well because Philly made a lot of moves. A.J. Brown on offense. They defense especially, they added a lot. They added James Bradbury to pair alongside Darius Slay. They got Hassan Riddick in free agency. They traded for C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They really boosted their team a lot.
Their entire team is boosted.
On paper, they look freaking stacked, and they are stacked. But I look at last week with the Detroit Lions. They almost made the Lions. Now, I'm not saying the Lions are a completely terrible team. They're a very competitive team, but they almost made the Lions come back and almost gain a victory.
Right.
Philadelphia barely escaped with a win. Against Minnesota, in my opinion, Minnesota's a better team.
Minnesota.
How the hell are you going to cover Justin Jefferson?
Yeah, I mean, his first half alone.
Even with the boosted secondary they got, I mean, he's unstoppable.
They're just too striking.
They're
way too striking. They're very fast striking. So I think Minnesota, yeah.
Yeah, I have to go with Minnesota right here.
Yeah, totally. So those are our week 2 picks, man. A huge shout out to Sentinel for his time and his predictions and his thoughts all around the NFL, but especially about the Pittsburgh Steelers. So appreciate you for coming on again, man.
Always a pleasure, gentlemen. Always a pleasure. Good to see you. Here we go, Steelers. Let's get another win. Let's make it 2-0 in the win column.
Hell yeah, man. So let us know you guys' picks down below and see you in the next one.
All right. Here we go, Steelers.